My girlfriend insisted I meet her parents over dinner. The problem? She spent the entire night trashing me in Italian, thinking I couldn't understand a single word. "He's too stupid to even know," she laughed. But after dinner, I thanked her parents in fluent Italian, then exposed every lie she'd told them. All right, Reddit, buckle up. My girlfriend trashed me to her parents, thinking I couldn't understand, but I shocked her after dinner, exposing her lies in perfect Italian. That's when things got ugly. She refused to leave my apartment, escalated to theft, and even roped in her friends to stalk me. So yeah, I took my revenge. Here's how it all went down. My girlfriend, Isabella, 25F, had been bugging me for months about meeting her parents. Not politely asking, no. Demanding, like it was some divine right she was owed. Every conversation somehow turned into, "When are you meeting my family, Marco?" "Yeah, my name's Marco. Dad's American. Mom was from Bologna." More on that later. Isabella wasn't the type to ask nicely for anything. She was the kind of girl who thought batting her eyelashes was a coupon for free stuff. Designer bags, expensive dinners, weekend trips to Napa. All on my dime, obviously, since her job at some wellness startup barely covered her car payment. The red flags were there from the start, but I ignored them like an idiot. She'd forget her wallet every single time we went out. If I even suggested splitting the check, she'd pout and give me the silent treatment. "Real men take care of their women," she'd say, flashing that manipulative little smile. But the biggest red flag? In 3 years of dating, she never once asked about my family. All she knew was that my dad was American and that my mom had died when I was 17. That's it. She never cared enough to dig deeper. When pressuring me directly didn't work, Isabella switched to manipulation. She'd start comparing me to other guys. Jessica's boyfriend proposed after meeting her family. They said meeting the parents shows commitment. Here's what I didn't know at the time. I wasn't walking into a nice family dinner. I was walking into a roast, and I was the main course. But Isabella didn't know something either. My mom wasn't just Italian. She was born in Bologna, raised speaking Italian before English, and she taught me the language from day one. After she died, speaking Italian felt like reopening a wound, so I just stopped, packed it away. My last name's O'Brien. I look like I walked straight out of a country club catalog. In 3 years, Isabella never once asked about my mom's background. That tiny little detail, about to become very important. The dinner was set for Saturday night at her parents' place, a gated community where the HOA probably has rules about what color your garbage cans can be. I threw on a decent shirt, grabbed flowers for her mom, and picked up Isabella. Weirdly, she was nervous. Isabella is usually about as humble as a Kardashian, but that night she kept checking herself in the mirror, asking if I looked presentable enough. "They're going to love you," she kept saying. "Just be yourself. But maybe tone it down a little." Tone what down? I'm an architect, not a circus clown. The car ride over should have been my warning. Isabella started coaching me like I was about to audition for the role of boyfriend in her family sitcom. "Don't bring up work too much. They think people who brag about their jobs are insecure. Don't mention your hobbies. They'll think you're immature. So basically, don't talk about anything that makes me who I am." "Got it," I asked. "So, what should I talk about then?" "Just let them lead the conversation. Answer their questions. Be charming. We pull up to this McMansion that screamed, 'We refinanced twice to afford this.' Mr. Rossi answers the door with a firm handshake, looking me up and down like he's calculating my net worth. Behind him is Mrs. Rossi with a plastic smile sharp enough to cut glass. "You must be Marco," she says in English. But I catch her shooting Isabella a look that said, "Really? This is what you brought home?" The house was exactly what I expected. Oversized furniture, way too many decorative pillows, and walls covered in family photos of Isabella's spoiled childhood. Oh, and a trophy case filled with participation awards from her dance recitals. We sit down in their formal dining room. Good china, cloth napkins, the works. The place was staged so perfectly, I half expected a magazine photographer to pop out. And that's when the show started. Isabella immediately switches to rapid-fire Italian with her parents. She turns to me with this fake smile and goes, "We're just catching up. We'll switch back to English in a few minutes. Promise." Yeah, those few minutes. Turned into 2 hours. 2 hours of me sitting there like a potted plant, while the woman I thought I loved spent the evening dismantling my reputation in a language she thought was her secret weapon. But I understood every single word. You ever watch someone dig their own grave, then ask for a bigger shovel? That was my night. It started with my career. Isabella tells her parents, he's fine, but he has no real ambition. He's content being a nobody at some small firm. I'm the one with drive and vision. I basically support us financially because his salary is pathetic. I nearly laughed out loud. I make $160,000 a year as a senior associate at one of the top architectural firms in the city. Isabella makes maybe $45,000 a year selling overpriced supplements to suburban soccer moms. I've paid for everything: vacations, luxury dinners, designer purses, including that $12,000 trip to Greece last year, where she complained our suite wasn't big enough. Her mom leans in, whispering conspiratorially, "But then, why are you still with him?" Isabella shrugs dramatically. He's convenient. He pays for everything, doesn't ask questions, and isn't smart enough to cause problems. Like having a well-trained dog. Then she moved on to my personality. Annoyoso, she sighs. He's boring. No culture, no sophistication. He won't even try to learn Italian despite dating me for 3 years. It's like dating a golden retriever. Sweet, but not much going on upstairs. Meanwhile, I literally have Dante's Inferno in Italian sitting on my nightstand. I've been reading Italian literature since high school, but why would she know that? She never showed interest in anything that wasn't about her. Her dad jumped in with his own hot take. He seems like the type who only watches sports and drinks. These Americans are all the same, Isabella nodded eagerly. Exactly. He's so predictable. Every weekend it's football, drinks, and video games. Like a teenager who never grew up. This from the same woman whose idea of culture is binge-watching reality TV and shopping sprees. But the real gut punch? When her mom asked about marriage, has he ever made his intentions clear? Isabella played it up like a soap opera. Oh, I'm ready to get married tomorrow, but he's terrified of commitment. I've been dropping hints for months and he just ignores them. I think he's keeping his options open, if you know what I mean. At that very moment, sitting safely in my bedroom was an $8,000 custom engagement ring. I'd already booked a surprise trip to Tuscany for her birthday. First-class tickets, 5-star hotel in Florence, the whole cinematic proposal package. So, while I was planning to propose in her ancestral homeland, she was calling me a commitment phobe. The irony was almost poetic. The conversation just kept spiraling. They dissected everything, my family, my future, my worth as a human being, all while I sat there, smiling, nodding, playing the part of the dumb American. Boyfriend too clueless to realize he was being roasted alive, Mrs. Rossi. Got especially cruel when the topic shifted to my background. He doesn't even know where his family comes from. These Americans have no roots, no history. How can you build a future with someone who doesn't know who he is? Isabella nodded along, perfectly in sync with her mother. Exactly, Mom. He's so empty. He has no depth, no passion for anything. That's how she described me, like living with a mannequin. And honestly, the worst part wasn't even what Isabella was saying. It was the casual cruelty of it. She'd look me dead in the eye with these sweet, loving expressions while telling her parents I was basically a charity case she was only keeping around out of convenience. The whole time I kept thinking about my mom. She was the one who taught me that Italian wasn't just a language, it was a lifeline. A connection to our family, our history, to who we were. She'd read me bedtime stories in Italian, taught me how to cook her nonna's recipes, made sure I understood where I came from, and here was Isabella, taking that same language and twisting it into a weapon. Using it like a knife, but I held it together. I'm not the type to flip a table and storm out. My mom raised me better than that. Instead, I just sat there cataloging every lie, every insult, every betrayal, waiting for the perfect moment to detonate the whole thing. That moment came during dessert. Her dad looked at me like I was some disappointing house pet and muttered in Italian to Isabella, "Sembra semplice." Are you sure about this one? He seems simple. Isabella actually laughed. Then she reached over, patted my hand like I was a child, looked me right in the eyes, and told her parents in Italian, "Don't worry. He's too stupid to understand what we're saying. Look at him, just sitting there with that blank smile like a trained seal. That was it. Game over. Every ounce of grief, rage, and betrayal inside me crystallized into this cold, surgical clarity. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to throw a tantrum. I was going to wait for the exact right moment, and then nuke her entire world. That moment came as we were getting ready to leave. Her dad, probably feeling a little guilty about the 2-hour roast session I'd just endured, patted my shoulder and spoke in slow, careful English, like I was a kindergartner. "It was very nice meeting you, Marco." I smiled, looked him dead in the eye, and let my mom's language flow out like silk. "Il piacere è stato tutto mio, Signor Rossi." The pleasure was all mine. "Mr. Rossi." You know that moment in an action movie when the bomb timer hits 0 and everything goes silent right before the explosion? That's exactly what happened. Mrs. Rossi's wine glass slipped out of her hand and shattered on the floor. Mr. Rossi's jaw dropped so hard I thought he might actually dislocate it. And Isabella? She went white as a ghost, then turned this sick shade of green. For a second, I thought she was going to puke, faint, or spontaneously combust. Maybe all three, but I wasn't done. Not even close. I kept that polite smile plastered on my face and turned to her parents. Still speaking fluent, effortless Italian. "Before we leave, I'd like to clear up a few small misunderstandings from this evening's conversation." The silence in that dining room was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop from the next zip code. Isabella sat frozen, eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights, probably replaying every cruel thing she'd said, realizing I'd understood all of it. It was beautiful. What came next was a masterclass in surgical destruction. My voice stayed calm, pleasant, like I was just commenting on the weather, while I dismantled Isabella's lies one by one. First, the money situation. Isabella mentioned some concerns about my financial stability. "I'd like to put your minds at ease." I pulled out my phone and showed them the confirmation email for the Tuscany trip, first-class tickets, a suite at the Four Seasons Florence, reservations at Michelin-starred restaurants. This was the surprise I was planning for her birthday. As for her claim about supporting us financially, simple misunderstanding, I'm sure. Isabella's face was draining of color by the second. A single tear rolled down her cheek, cutting a clean track through her foundation. She still couldn't move, couldn't speak. Just sat there watching her little house of cards collapse. Next, the culture issue. She also mentioned my supposed lack of interest in Italian culture. That one particularly stung. My mother, Francesca, was from Bologna. She raised me speaking her language. It was the language of my childhood, my heart. After she passed, it became too painful to speak. I kept it private because it was sacred to me. Mrs. Rossi's hand shot to her chest, her expression flipping from smug disdain to outright horror. Mr. Rossi looked at his daughter with this expression of pure, bone-deep disappointment, like he was really seeing her for the first time. And finally, the killing blow. I looked Isabella straight in the eyes. My voice went ice cold. "You told your parents I was afraid of commitment, that I was stringing you along. You said this knowing I've spent the last 2 months working with a jeweler to design your engagement ring, knowing I was planning to propose to you in the hills of Tuscany next month." I let the words hang in the air, heavy. But I see now. A man cannot propose to a woman who thinks he's a stupid, worthless burden. A man cannot build a future with someone who uses his dead mother's language as a tool to mock him. I stood from the table, turned to her parents one last time, and said, "Grazie di tutto. You have a beautiful home?" Then I walked out, got in my car, drove away, leaving Isabella sitting in the wreckage of the life she'd torched with her own mouth. The car ride home was dead silent. Isabella eventually stumbled out of her parents' house and got in, but she looked like a ghost. Shock. When we got back to my apartment, the dam finally broke. She exploded, accusing me of setting her up, deceiving her, laying some elaborate trap. "You knew the whole time. You sat there and let me talk. You tricked me!" "No, Isabella," I said evenly. "I didn't trick you. I didn't set you up. You hung yourself with your own words. The only thing I did was understand them." She started pacing the living room like a caged animal, swinging between rage and panic. "This is insane. You deliberately hid this from me." "I didn't hide anything. You never asked. In 3 years, you never once asked about my mother's background, where she was from, What languages I spoke? You were too busy talking about yourself to care about my family. That one landed. She stopped pacing and stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. But you never what? Never volunteered information you never showed interest in hearing? That shut her up. Then came the waterworks. The begging. The classic, I didn't mean it, I was just nervous. I shook my head. No, Isabella. You didn't just lie. You humiliated me. You used my mother's memory as entertainment. That's unforgivable. I walked into the bedroom and started pulling out her things. This is my apartment, my lease. I want you out by tomorrow. That's when her mask slipped completely. The tears stopped instantly. Her face hardened. You can't just kick me out. I have rights. I live here too. No, I said calmly. You sleep here sometimes. There's a difference. She glared at me like she couldn't believe it. Like she thought she could cry her way out of it or bully me into submission. But she'd crossed a line there was no coming back from. And that's when Isabella's real nightmare began. The next morning, she refused to pack. Just sat on the couch in her pajamas like she was staging an occupation. I'm not leaving, she announced. This is my home too. You can't make me. That's when I called my childhood friend, Jesse. We've known each other since we were 12. The guy has this gift for cutting through drama with surgical precision. Need backup, I told him. And maybe a place to crash for a few days while I deal with this. Say less, he replied. I'll pack a bag. This sounds like entertainment. An hour later, Jesse showed up with a duffel bag, 2 Starbucks cups, and a shit-eating grin. He walked in, took one look at Isabella parked on my couch, and said, "Oh, this is gonna be fun. So you're the girl who thinks Marco's too stupid to understand basic Italian? Bold strategy. How's that working out for you?" Isabella's eyes narrowed as soon as she saw his bag. What the hell is he doing here? Isabella snapped. He's staying here, I said calmly. It's my apartment. You can't just move someone in to intimidate me? Jesse laughed. Intimidate you? Princess, I'm 5'8" and work in IT. If you feel intimidated by my presence, that says more about your guilty conscience than my intimidation factor. That's when Isabella tried her first power play. Fine, I'll leave. But I want the engagement ring. I blinked at her. What engagement ring? The one you bought me. You said you bought me a ring. I said I bought a ring. Past tense for a proposal that's never happening. That ring is going back to the jeweler. Jesse nearly choked on his coffee. Holy princess. You actually think you're entitled to jewelry from the guy you just spent 2 hours roasting? That's some next-level delusion right there. Isabella's face went red. I deserve compensation for 3 years of my life. Compensation? I laughed. For what? The free vacations, the designer bags, the rent-free living? You want compensation for being financially supported while you played house? Jesse was taking notes on his phone at this point. This is gold. Please continue making demands you have no legal right to. I'm documenting everything. That's when she declared war. Instead of leaving, she dug in harder. You know what? Fine, I'm not going anywhere. If you want me gone, you'll have to drag me out. Jesse looked at me with this deadpan expression. Did she just refuse to leave your apartment while demanding compensation? I believe she did. Fascinating. What followed was a week of psychological warfare. Isabella didn't just refuse to leave, she actively tried to make our lives miserable. She'd blast music at 3 a.m., leave dirty dishes everywhere, and invite her toxic friends over without warning. The first night, she cranked some trashy pop playlist at maximum volume while Jesse and I were trying to sleep. When I knocked on her bedroom door to ask her to turn it down, she screamed through the door, "This is my home too! I can play music whenever I want!" Jesse was a saint through all of it. When Isabella would start one of her screaming fits, he'd just put in earbuds and ignore her. When she left passive-aggressive notes around the apartment, he'd write responses. Her note: some people need to learn respect and basic human decency. Jesse's response: some people need to learn that Italian isn't a secret code and that actions have consequences. Also, you're out of toilet paper. The passive-aggressive warfare escalated daily. Isabella would use all the hot water before I needed to shower. Jesse responded by waking up at 5 a.m. to shower first, then loudly making coffee while she was trying to sleep in. She'd eat my food and claim she forgot it wasn't hers. Jesse started labeling everything in the fridge with detailed ownership notices. Marco's lunch. Do not eat unless you want to pay for takeout replacement. Isabella's yogurt. Oh wait, Isabella doesn't buy groceries. This is Marco's yogurt. Hands off, klepto. My personal favorite. This sandwich belongs to the guy who pays rent here. But Jesse's real genius was in how he handled her manipulation attempts. Every time she tried to guilt-trip me or play the victim, he'd provide running commentary like a nature documentary narrator. And here we see the entitled princess in her natural habitat, he'd say in a David Attenborough voice while Isabella was mid-tantrum. Notice how she fluffs her feathers and squawks loudly when denied access to resources she believes she owns by divine right. Isabella would turn red every time he did this. Stop talking. About me like I'm not here, she'd shriek, Jesse, without missing a beat. The common Princess Sapien becomes increasingly agitated when her behavior patterns are observed and documented. Fascinating. The real entertainment came when Isabella's friends started showing up for moral support. Brittany and Chloe, both cut from the same entitled princess cloth, would camp out in my living room like they were staging an intervention. By day 3, the full cavalry had arrived. I came home from work to find all 3 of them arranged on my couch like they were holding court. They'd apparently been there for hours, eating my food and plotting their next move. You can't just kick Isabella out, Brittany announced. She has nowhere to go. Jesse, making himself a sandwich in the kitchen, called over, She has parents. She has friends. She has options. What she doesn't have is the legal right to squat in someone else's apartment. This is emotional abuse, Chloe shrieked. No, Jesse said calmly. Emotional abuse is what Isabella did at that dinner. This is just consequences. But I understand the confusion. Chloe stood up dramatically, pointing an accusatory finger at me. You're destroying her life over a stupid misunderstanding. Jesse looked up from his sandwich. A misunderstanding? She called him a trained seal in Italian while laughing. For 2 hours. Isabella ramped up the harassment after that. She'd accidentally walk in on me showering. She'd move my stuff around and claim she didn't know where it went. She'd order food to the apartment and stick me with the bill. The food delivery scam was her most pathetic move. She'd order $40 worth of Thai food, then disappear when it arrived, leaving me to deal with the confused delivery guy. Jesse started intercepting the delivery drivers. If Isabella ordered it, she can pay for it herself. If she's not here with cash, take it back. He had her number from day 1. Every time she tried something, he called it out with surgical precision. Oh, look, he'd say when she started fake crying. The waterworks are back. It's like clockwork. Every time someone calls her out on her behavior, here come the tears. By day 5, Isabella was getting desperate. She couldn't handle Jesse's constant dry commentary on her behavior. Every manipulation tactic she tried was immediately exposed and mocked. Why do you hate me so much? She asked Jesse during one particularly pathetic breakdown. I never did anything to you. Oh, I don't hate you, Isabella. I just have zero tolerance for bullshit, and you're basically a walking factory. It's nothing personal. You know what your problem is? Jesse told her during one meltdown. You're used to people who enable your crap. Marco was too nice to call you out. Your parents spoiled you rotten. Your friends are just as delusional as you are. But I don't give a damn about your feelings. So I'm just going to keep pointing out reality. That's when Isabella made her biggest mistake. On day 7, while Jesse and I were at work, she packed up her stuff, and mine. I came home from work to find half my things missing. Isabella had cleaned me out like a burglar. My iPad, my expensive headphones, 2 watches, designer clothes, and the one that really pissed me off, my mom's jewelry box she'd somehow found in my closet. Jesse took one look at the empty spaces and whistled. Damn, girl went full klepto on you. I was documenting everything for the police report when Isabella's text came through. I took what I deserved. Consider it compensation for 3 years of emotional labor. Jesse read it over my shoulder. Emotional labor? Is that what we're calling being a crazy girlfriend now? Apparently stealing constitutes payment for imaginary services. Should we tell her that's not how employment law works? Or let her explain that theory to the police? But the theft was just the beginning. Isabella and her toxic brigade weren't done. The harassment campaign that followed was relentless. They'd show up at my gym, my coffee shop, my office building, not just asking for stuff back, but actively trying to humiliate me in public. The gym incident was particularly embarrassing. I was mid-workout when all three of them showed up, marching through the weight section like they owned the place. Other gym members started staring as Isabella began her performance. There he is, the guy who kicked me out with nowhere to go. Brittany cornered me outside my office building during lunch. "You need to drop this whole victim act," she said loud enough for people to hear. Isabella only took what was rightfully hers. Rightfully hers? I laughed. My dead mother's jewelry was rightfully hers? That stumped her for about 2 seconds before Chloe jumped in. "You manipulated," she glared at me. "You've manipulated her for years. You owe her." Jesse, who had just come to meet me for lunch, walked up in time to hear it. "Oh, good. The flying monkeys are back," he said. "Ladies, quick question. In what universe does emotional disappointment justify theft? I'm genuinely curious about the theory here." "Shut up," Brittany snapped. "This has nothing to do with you." "Actually," Jesse replied, "it has everything to do with me. I'm the witness who watched Isabella refuse to leave Marco's apartment for a week while demanding compensation for imaginary services. I'm also the guy who's been documenting all your harassment attempts. Smile for the camera, by the way." He held up his phone, which had been recording the whole thing. Both girls went pale. "You can't record us without permission," Chloe stammered. "Actually, I can. Thanks for the evidence." But they weren't done. Next came the social media blitz, but this time it was coordinated. All three of them started posting about my abuse, my manipulation, my theft of Isabella's belongings. The problem was none of their stories matched. Isabella claimed I had stolen money from her. Brittany said I'd destroyed her property. Chloe insisted I'd cheated on her with multiple women. The stalking escalated. They'd sit in Brittany's car outside my building, following me to work, to the store, to the gym. One morning I found them camping in the parking garage at 6 a.m., waiting for me to leave for work. "This is insane," Jesse muttered, peering through the blinds at them. "They're literally stalking you now." That's when Isabella crossed the final line. She started showing up at my office building, not just calling, but actually coming inside and demanding to see me. Security had to escort her out 3 times. The security footage was pure gold. Isabella, red-faced, screaming at the front desk, demanding they call me down, threatening to expose me to my coworkers. The security guard, a massive dude named Marcus, finally had to physically escort her out while she shrieked about her rights. The final straw came when she somehow got into my apartment building, probably tailgated behind another resident, and left a bag of my stuff outside my door. Except half of it wasn't even mine. It was random junk mixed with a few of my actual belongings, like she was playing some twisted game. The note attached said, "I'm being generous. The rest stays with me until you pay me what you owe me." Jessie picked up the bag and examined the contents. "She gave you back a single sock, your high school yearbook, and is this a stapler?" "Whose stapler is this?" "I have no idea. This girl's lost her damn mind." "Wait," Jessie said, digging deeper. "There's more. A broken phone charger that doesn't fit any phone made in the last 5 years. A keychain from some tourist trap. And dude, is this a pregnancy test?" "What the hell?" I looked at it. It was unused, still in the package. "Why would she put that in there?" "She's trying to mess with your head." That night, Jessie sat me down with a drink and laid it out straight. "Dude, you need to stop being nice about this and go legal." And I did. Monday morning, I called my lawyer, David, and laid everything out. The theft, the harassment, the stalking, the threats. I had screenshots of every text, photos of them following me, security footage from my office building. David listened to the whole story and just whistled. "Marco, this isn't just a bad breakup anymore. This is a criminal matter. We're talking restraining order, theft charges, harassment charges." How much was the stuff she took worth? I documented everything. The watches alone were worth $3,000. My mom's jewelry was irreplaceable, but insured for $5,000. Total damages were around $12,000. "File everything," I told him. "Restraining order, theft charges, civil suit." "I'm done being reasonable," David grinned. "Now you're talking. Let's bury her in paperwork." Getting the restraining order was easier than I expected. The judge looked at the evidence, photos of them following me, texts threatening to destroy my reputation, security footage of Isabella trying to force her way into my office, and granted it immediately. "Mr. O'Brien," the judge said, "this behavior is completely unacceptable. Ms. Rossi and her associates are to have no contact with you whatsoever. Any violation will result in immediate arrest." The look on Isabella's face when she was served with the restraining order was priceless. According to the process server, she broke down crying and claimed she was the real victim here. But I wasn't done. While the criminal charges were being processed, I started digging into Isabella's employment situation. Turns out, her wellness startup had a pretty strict social media policy and code of conduct. I spent an evening putting together a comprehensive package, screenshots of her harassment posts, documentation of her stalking behavior, photos of her and her friends confronting me in public. All of it showed a clear pattern of unprofessional, harassing behavior. Then I created an anonymous email account and sent it all to her company's HR department with a simple message. "You may want to be aware of how one of your employees is representing your company in public." The consequences came fast and hard. Within 48 hours, Isabella's company fired her. Turns out they'd already been getting complaints from clients who'd seen her social media meltdowns and connected her to the company. My evidence was just the final straw. Jesse got the update from Brittany's boyfriend, who was apparently sick of the drama. Isabella got canned from her job. She's claiming it's wrongful termination, but they documented everything. Social media conduct violations, harassment, bringing negative attention to the company. She's toast, and the theft charges stuck, too. She glared at me. "You've manipulated her for years. You owe her." Jesse had just come to meet me for lunch and walked up right in time to hear it. "Oh, good. The flying monkeys are back," he said dryly. "Ladies, quick question. In what universe does emotional disappointment justify theft? I'm genuinely curious about the theory here." "Shut up!" Brittany snapped. "This has nothing to do with you." "Actually," Jesse shot back, "it has everything to do with me. I'm the witness who watched Isabella refuse to leave Marco's apartment for a week while demanding compensation for imaginary services. I'm also the guy who's been documenting all your harassment attempts. Smile for the camera, by the way." He lifted his phone, showing it had been recording the entire exchange. "Both girls went pale. You can't record us without permission," Chloe stammered. "Actually, I can. Thanks for the evidence." But that wasn't the end. Next came the social media blitz, and this time, it was coordinated. All three of them jumped online, posting about my supposed abuse, manipulation, and theft of Isabella's belongings. The problem was none of their stories matched. Isabella claimed I'd stolen money. Brittany said I'd destroyed her property. Chloe swore I had cheated on her with multiple women. Then the stalking ramped up. They'd sit in Brittany's car outside my building, following me to work, to the store, even to the gym. One morning, I spotted them camped out in the parking garage at 6 a.m., waiting for me to leave for work. "This is insane," Jesse muttered, peering through the blinds at them. "They're literally stalking you now." And then Isabella crossed the final line. She started showing up at my office building, not just calling, but walking in and demanding to see me. Security had to escort her out 3 separate times. The security footage was pure gold. Isabella, red-faced, screaming at the front desk, demanding they call me down, threatening to expose me to my coworkers. The security guard, a massive guy named Marcus, finally had to physically escort her, out as she shrieked about her rights. The last straw came when she somehow got into my apartment building, probably tailgated behind another resident, and left a bag of my stuff outside my door. Except half of it wasn't even mine. It was random junk, mixed in with a few actual belongings, like she was playing some twisted game. The note attached read, "I'm being generous. The rest stays with me until you pay me what you owe me." Jesse picked up the bag and sifted through it. "She gave you back a single sock, your high school yearbook, and is this a stapler? Whose stapler is this?" "I have no idea." "This girl's lost her damn mind." "Wait," Jesse said, digging deeper. "There's more. A broken phone charger that doesn't fit any phone made in the last 5 years. A keychain from some tourist trap. And dude, is this a pregnancy test?" "What the hell?" I looked closer. It was unused, still sealed in the package. Why would she put that in there? She's just trying to mess with your head. That night, Jesse sat me down with a drink and got serious. Dude, you need to stop being nice about this and go legal. And I did. Monday morning, I called my lawyer, David, and laid it all out. The theft, the harassment, the stalking, the threats. I had screenshots of every text, photos of them following me, security footage from my office building. David listened, then let out a low whistle. Marco, this isn't just a bad breakup anymore. This is a criminal matter. We're talking restraining order, theft charges, harassment charges. How much was the stuff she took worth? I had everything documented. The watches alone were worth $3,000. My mom's jewelry was irreplaceable but insured for $5,000. Total damages came out to about $12,000. File everything, I told him. Restraining order, theft charges, civil suit. I'm done being reasonable. David grinned. Now you're talking. Let's bury her in paperwork. Getting the restraining order was easier than I expected. The judge looked through the evidence. Photos of them following me, texts threatening to ruin my reputation. Security footage of Isabella trying to storm my office, and granted it immediately. Mr. O'Brien, the judge said, this behavior is completely unacceptable. Ms. Rossi and her associates are to have no contact with you whatsoever. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. The look on Isabella's face when she was served with the restraining order? Priceless. According to the process server, she broke down crying and tried to claim she was the real victim. But I wasn't done. While the criminal charges were moving forward, I started digging into Isabella's job situation. Turns out her so-called wellness startup had a strict social media policy and code of conduct. I spent an evening putting together a full package, screenshots of her harassment posts, proof of her stalking, photos of her and her friends confronting me in public. All of it showed a clear, undeniable pattern of unprofessional, harassing behavior. Then I made an anonymous email account and sent it all to her company's HR department with a single message. You may want to be aware of how one of your employees is representing your company in public. The fallout was immediate. Within 48 hours, Isabella was fired. Turns out, clients had already been complaining about her social media meltdowns and connecting her behavior back to the company. My evidence was just the nail in the coffin. Jesse got the update from Brittany's boyfriend, who'd finally had enough of the drama. Isabella got canned. She's trying to call it wrongful termination, but they've documented everything. Social media violations, harassment, dragging the company's name through the mud. She's toast, and the theft charges stuck, too.